Yo, what's going on, guys? XD Gaming here. Welcome back to another movie review. And in today's episode, it's going to be Friday the 13th, part dos, part 2. Roman numeral I. Okay. So, Friday the 13th, part 2 came out on April 30th, 1981. So, like I said in the first episode, I am nowhere certified to be reviewing this movie because I am only like 15 years old. So, I shouldn't be reviewing a movie that came out 24 years before I was born. But hey, I'm doing it anyways. And if you saw the last video, I said I was going to be taking notes on this movie. So, I don't have very good handwriting, but I've took a lot of notes so I can go over it. And this is kind of like how this is kind of how I'm going to do it. So in this movie, I got, now don't quote me on this, but I think there's like 8 kills. Because we're not sure if someone dies at the end, but we do know that most of them died. Okay, so, yeah, I won't be saying the characters' names, but I got the character list pulled up here. There's Alice Hardy, which was the survivor from the last movie. She's in the beginning here. Then we got Sandria Dyer, Terry McCarthy, Paul Holt, Jenny Field. Who else is in this movie? We got like Ted Bowen or Theodore Bowen, Victoria Perry, Mark Jarvis, Jeffrey Dunsbury, and then yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay, so I'll try to say their names, but I'll have to look at my computer a little bit to get all their names right. Okay, so it starts off with Alice Hardy. So I'll be looking at this for a little bit. So it starts off with her. She's having a nightmare of the flashback of the first movie. So it basically goes through the ending scene of the first movie when she chops off Pamela Voorhees' head. And yeah, I had to look at that because I forgot what her first name is. But yeah, she chops off her head, and she goes in the boat, and Jason pulls her under the boat, and then the cops come. They go to the hospital. She says, "Is there any survivors?" He says, "No." She asks about Jason, and he says he doesn't know what she's talking about, and yeah. So anyways, so this girl, Alice Hardy, she wakes up, then she calls her mom, or her mom's on the phone, and she's in like this nice house, which I don't know how the heck she afforded the house, because it looked like she was an artist, but yet she was a camp counselor, so unless the camp gave her like a sum of money because of what happened there, unless like the crystals gave her some of money or something, I don't know. Unless that happened, I have no idea how she was able to afford a huge house, or not a huge house, but just a decent sized house that, like, usually families of two parents that both work can buy by the time they're like have like a kid that's at least like 5 years old. So don't know why I said it that way, but anyways. So then she answers the phone, and she goes back into the room or something, and then another ring on the phone happens, and she goes, picks it up, but no one is there. So she's like, what the heck? And then she heard a noise at the door. She heard like a noise outside or whatever. So she grabbed a knife, and the window was open. Her window was open, so she grabbed the knife. But instead, a cat just jumped in her window, or like jumped through, like went through her window because it was their cat or whatever. So she was like, okay. I think the cat actually has a name. No, it's just Alice Hardy's cat. Okay. Yeah, okay. And then she went, opened the fridge, and there was a head. Just a human head just sitting there in the fridge. And then she got stabbed. I'm not sure if it was like a screwdriver or something, but it went through her. I think it was her neck. Wait. Maybe I wrote it down. In the head, yeah. She got stabbed in the head with like a screwdriver. And then the credits roll. So that was like the intro scene to the movie. It shows the last survivor of the first movie getting killed off. So I guess some fans might have not liked that because we're getting an entirely new cast here. But I don't really care. I'm just in it for the kills. Anyways, starts off with a guy and a girl, which I'm pretty sure is Sandra Dyer and it is what's his name, Jeffrey Dunsbury. So it starts with Sandra and Jeffrey, and they're driving in this lifted truck or whatever, and they're driving through the town that is like right down from Camp Crystal Lake. It's the same town that was in the first movie or whatever, and then they go, they pick up a phone from the telephone booth, and they start calling one of their friends, seeing if they like pick them up or something. Take them to the camp or whatever, and the crazy guy from the first movie walks up to them, and he says they're all doomed. So yeah, so I don't know if you guys like this notes because I'm like keep having to look down, but yeah. Anyways, the tow truck comes and starts towing their truck. Right as the guy's saying they're doomed or whatever, so they didn't even see it, but then they see it and they start running after it, so they all start running after the tow truck, but then the tow truck eventually pulls up at their friend's house, which the friend is, what's his name, Theodore Bowen, so, yeah, it pulls up at his house, and he's like the jokester of the movie. If you remember from my last video, I said there was a jokester. He wore like a Dolphins jersey or whatever. Anyways, this guy's like the same jokester, but not as like annoying, I'd say. He was kind of relatable, because like towing someone's car to your house is kind of a funny joke. Unlike being an adult and acting like you're drowning just to kiss a girl. Because what if the guy gave you I forget what it is, but what if the guy did that? Then you'd be screwed, because then you'd be kissing a guy. So, yeah. Yeah, so then they start driving the truck, and they start driving the truck up to Camp Crystal Lake, but they have to stop because a branch fell in the middle of the road, so they get out to take it up, and the girl says it's spooky here, but yet she starts walking into the woods for some reason. She said it was spooky, but yet she's walking into the woods. So anyway, she walks in there, and she finds the Camp Crystal Lake sign, which I thought was kind of funny, so yeah, she finds the Camp Crystal Lake sign, and pretty sure they call it Camp Blood, since all the people got murdered 5 years back. Yeah, this is set 5 years in the future, even though it came out 1 year later. But it's set 5 years in the future. So, yeah. Anyways, we get set to now we get put to the counselors, and they're at the counselor training center, and so they're all out here at a house. They're not at Camp Crystal Lake, but they're on the same lake as Camp Crystal Lake, which I don't know if the lake's called Crystal Lake or what, but yeah. So they're there, and then this guy deciding he wants to be a perv shot a rock at a girl's butt. So pretty much just like Bart Simpson does. So he pulled a Bart Simpson there. No, this movie came out probably before the. I think it's before the Simpsons. Simpsons is in the 80s, but this movie's 81, so I don't think so. So they're at the counselor training centers, yeah. So then, what's her name? Jenny. Jenny shows up in a VW Bug, and she shows up late, and she shows up in the red VW Bug, and she basically gets chewed out by Paul, which is kind of like, he's the leader of this counselor training camp. So his name's Paul, and he basically, he's basically the one that hits on Jenny. So he hits on Jenny, and he actually kisses her at the beginning. But anyway, her car was starting to putter out, and it started to not turn on. So the guy went to the back, and it always just, it makes me like wonder why he's going to the back every time. Just because I always forget that the engine's in the back of the VW Bug. So anyways, he goes to the back, opens it up, and it says, "Hey, now try it," and it instantly turns on. He didn't even touch it. Didn't even touch the engine, but boom, it instantly turns on. So anyways, after that scene, she has to move her car or whatever, and they all start having a campfire, and Paul starts, I think it's Paul, he starts talking about Jason, and he says like Jason, he never really died or whatever. I guess he came out of the lake as an adult in a baby in an adult's body, kind of. And yeah, that's kind of like the Lauren Jason or whatever. But they basically almost kind of call him like Bigfoot almost, because they say he's like sighted in the woods or whatever, sighted around. And that's when he says that was 5 years ago that Camp Crystal Lake got infested or whatever. And then, what's his name? Ted or whatever freaking comes out with a mask on and a spear and freaking scares everyone out of the campfire. So the class clown or whatever freaking just scared everyone, and then Paul's just sitting there laughing. So then after that incident, they all go inside and they're basically chilling. They're playing games or whatever. They're playing chess. They're all playing that stuff. And then the blonde girl, which I'm pretty sure was Jenny. It was Jenny. She had to go to her. She wanted to go to bed, so she ends up going to her cabin, and she thinks she hears something outside when she gets to her cabin. She's thinking she's hearing someone, but then she opens the door and Paul just jumps out at her, and then basically they start making out. And then it shows the crazy guy, which, Ralph, the crazy guy who was telling them they were doomed or whatever. He ends up stalking them. They're stalking them. He was stalking them behind a tree, making out or whatever. And then Jason comes around him with barbed wire, like around the tree. He's behind the tree, and Ralph's in front of the tree, and he basically pulls them around, so he's like choking him like this with the barbed wire, and it just slits his throat, and he dies. So that was a cool kill. And that was the second kill of this movie so far. So I'm counseling him, and then it skips to a scene where all the counselors are running, and then they start going down the trails. And then that's just a random scene, and then it cuts to them having a cookout in the daytime. So they're basically grilling up some hot dogs and stuff. Anyways, what's her name? Terry decides that she's gonna go look for her dog because her dog, I think it's like Muffin. Oh my, I don't know what it did. Here we go. I think her name is Muffin. Let me look. And no, it's not Muffin. What's the name of the dog? Oh, it is Muffin. Okay. Yeah, it's Muffin. She goes and looks for her dog, like in the woods or whatever. And then it skips to the starting guy and girl, which I said was Sandra and Jeffrey. So this Jeffrey and Sandra, they want to go to Camp Blood. They want to go explore it, where all the kids got killed or whatever, which I don't know why you'd want to go explore that, but they wanted to go explore it. So they walk out into the woods, and they find the no trespassing sign with the chain, like, fence, or, like, I think it was just, like, some wire or something. So they hop on over the fence, and they find a dead dog or something just mangled there. And at first I thought that was Muffin, but it's not Muffin. But anyways, it's just a dead dog. So they say ew, and then the cop like pulls up or whatever, and I don't know why he's there, but he just basically pulls up. He gets them. He says, "Hey, you're trespassing here," and then he leads them back, and he puts them in Paul's office or whatever. And Paul basically pretty much just doesn't give an F about it. Like, he does not care at all about it. And the cop's like, "Aren't you gonna punish them?" He's like, "Yeah, they can't have seconds on dessert." And it's just like, it's like the cop's just like, "Wow," and he just leaves. But anyways, so the cop starts driving away, and he sees someone in the woods he sees someone like run into the woods or whatever. So the cop stops, and then he starts chasing him. And then the cop finds a little like house hut type thing in the woods. So the cop goes into that little like hut, like house type thing, and then he's like looking around, and then Jason just comes in and frickin' smacks him on the head with a pickaxe. So, pickaxe in the back of the head, so that was cool. Anyways, so then it cuts to all the counselors having dinner, and then half of the counselors were like, yeah, let's go get some beer, and let's go get drunk or whatever. So half of the counselors leave to go to the bar or whatever, and it leaves just 6 counselors left. It leaves Mark, Victoria, Terry, Scott. Mark, Victoria, Terry, Scott, Jeffrey, and Sandra. So it leaves those 6. That one to stay back, and then Terry basically goes for a walk, and then she ends up going skinny dipping in the lake or whatever for no reason. No one's around, but she ends up going skinny dipping, which I don't understand why you'd go skinny dipping by yourself, but I don't know. Maybe it feels good, but why you do it in the dark, in the woods, I mean, I guess no one can see you then, but like, you have a ton of counselors around. I mean, the one's bound to see you, but whatever. So she goes skinny dipping, and I bet that's just one of the things from the movies for eye candy, because the main thing that attracted teens and people to this movie back in the 80s was the kills and the sex. So those were like the two main things. So that's one of the reasons, but they had to get their ratings up, so they did that. Anyways, so basically they go back and I think they're playing some games or something, and then Sandra and I always forget this guy's name, Jeffrey, end up going up to have sex. So they go up and they're basically getting it on in their room. So they're having sex, and then Terry, which is skinny dipping in the pool. Scott, which was the one that flung that rock at her ass earlier. He basically steals her clothes or whatever, and then he gets caught, and he gives some of her clothes back, but he leaves her shirt off because they can show that part in the movie. So they basically go. He starts running away with her shirt, so she got to run after him, and then he gets freaking caught in a trap, gets pulled up, and he's hanging by his legs, and he's basically, his head's down here, he's hanging by his legs up, so he got screwed. He gives her a shirt back in return for her basically going and trying to get a knife to cut him down or whatever. Anyway, basically, while she runs off to her cabin or whatever, try to find a knife, and of course, Jason comes up from the behind and slits that guy's throat. Which, I mean, he was a pervert anyway, so at least you don't have to deal with him being a pervert anymore. Anyways, so Terry basically she finds like a tiny pocket knife or whatever. So she's like, okay. And she runs back out there. She finds him. And she finds Scott. And at first he wasn't talking, so she was confused. But she turned him around, sees that his slows through it, and she screams. And then, so she screams. And then it counts to the other counselors in the bar. And it's Paul, Jenny, and Ted. And, I'm getting these names down. And they are all talking about Jason. So they're talking about how Jason, whatever, and then Jenny starts thinking that, hey, Jason might be real or whatever, and all the other two counselors are giving her shit because of it. Anyways, it cuts to the counselors having sex again. It cuts to Andrea, I think. Is it Andrea or no? It's Sandra. Sandra and Jeffrey having sex, and then it cuts to Mark, which is the wheelchair guy, and Victoria. They are getting it on. They're playing some like hockey video game, the tiny hockey video game. Those video games they had back in the 80s. Kind of, have you ever seen like a Game Boy? It's kind of like a longer version of that, which only plays one game. But anyway, so she basically starts getting it on with him, and she got to go. So she goes to the car. Or no. No, wait, did I miss something? No, I'm not missing anything. Anyways, she goes to her cabin to change or whatever, and she takes her clothes, takes her pants off, and then she's in her underwear, and she puts on like new underwear or whatever because she's about to get it on with this wheelchair guy, which his name is Mark, and but she goes out to her car and in her underwear, and then it starts a thunderstorm, so she gets to go back in. Anyway, it cuts to Mark, and he's searching for her because it's taking her forever. And, girls take forever. Haha, joke. But, so he goes outside. He's just looking around. He's, like, on the porch deck or whatever. And freaking Jason comes up, throws a machete into the guy's face. The guy rolls backwards and rolls down a set of stairs. I mean, they just had to do that. They had to make a wheelchair guy roll down a set of stairs. That was probably one of, or the coolest kill in the movie. The next one coming up is pretty cool, too. Anyway, after that, Jason, he's still there. So he walks into the house. He takes that spear from when Ted was... scared them all earlier. It had a mask on it that he had on. He throws the mask on one of the stairs. He takes the spear. He walks up in the house, opens the door through Sandria and Jeffrey having sex, and they're like actually into it now. They're both naked. He freaking takes the spear, spears it through them both. Like, they're on top of each other. So he spears it through them both and into the freaking ground. Like, through the bed and everything. Like, bro, they would still be alive because it just went through, like, their back and stomach and stuff. They would still be alive for a little while. And they'd just be sitting there like a shish kebab. Jeez, that would be horrible. Anyway, Victoria, she comes back in the house and looks for the wheelchair guy. She's calling him, and she's like, okay, I'll just go upstairs and try to see if, they're done having sex or whatever, and see if they're still there or whatever. So she goes up there, and then she opens the door. She sees the bed covered with blood, and she's like, oh, is this a joke or whatever? Actually, I don't know if that happens yet. Not the bed cover. Well, I mean, she sees Jason. Yeah. Let me see. Yeah. But she actually finds Jason, then gets killed with a butcher knife because he freaking butchers her. And you could see Jeffrey literally hanging on a wall naked, and Jason freaking stabs her with a butcher knife. So then Jason drags the girl down the stairs. It shows that. Then Paul and Jenny, not the Jenny from Forrest Gump, but the Jenny from this movie. They're both blonde. Jason, yeah. So the other two get back, and then they go upstairs. They find the blood on the bed, and they're like, "Oh, is this a joke?" Because Jason took all the other bodies out of that room. So then they go downstairs. They find Jason. Paul freaking tries to tackles Jason. So Jason and Paul are like wrestling each other. So then Jason freaking knocks out Paul. So then Jenny goes in and closes herself in the bathroom. I mean, she could have helped Paul by like grabbing something and hitting Jason, but no, she just goes and closes herself in the bathroom, like after Jason knocks out Paul. Because I guess they just thought he was a normal dude. So then Jason freaking goes outside the house, smashes through the window because he tried to like use the doorknob or whatever, so that didn't work. So he went around, smashed through the window. But Jenny goes into another room, and Jason breaks through the door, Jason breaks through the door, and she finds the dead crazy guy in a closet. Probably nod to the first movie when they opened the closet and found him in there like alive. So then she opens the closet and finds him in there dead. She runs out to her VW Bug, Jenny does, and tries to start the car. But of course this car won't start, so this is pretty much getting to the end of the movie. So then Jason breaks through the car roof because it's a convertible. So he goes on the roof, smashes his pitchfork through the roof of the car. But she starts running away again into the forest. Then she hides behind a tree. Jason comes up. She kicks him in the balls. So, of course, that's going to knock any man off his feet. So she starts running again, finds a different car, the yellow car, the one that Victoria had to go to in her underwear or whatever. She finds, let me see where I'm at. Yeah, she finds a different car. She hides in front of it because she can't get in because it's locked. Then just runs off again. And then, I couldn't really see, but Jason tried to come down on her, and then she just like slid out of the way or whatever and escaped Jason. And then she ends up going back into a cabin or whatever, and then she hid under the bed. But then a mouse comes by and runs right next to her, and then she starts she pissed herself or whatever. Because I mean that's a pretty intense situation. I mean you have someone that's trying to kill you and you're trying to hide from them, and then a mouse comes up right in front of your face. I mean, I don't blame her, but still. Then Jason tries to kill her, but he was standing on top of a chair or something, so he just fell off of the chair, and then he broke the pitchfork in half, and then pretty sure that's when that happened. And then she grabs the chainsaw, and perfect opportunity to saw him in half and kill him, but she just scares him with it, and then she just grabs the chair and hits him with it, because I guess she doesn't want to kill someone that's trying to kill you, because these movies or whatever. She runs off. Then she runs off. She finds a house in the woods that the cop found earlier. Pretty sure it's the same one. Then she goes in it and she finds Jason's mom's head sitting on a shrine or whatever. And I don't know if that's when she realized, hey, this is Jason, not just a random killer or whatever. Or maybe she knew from the beginning or whatever. But then she gets, then Jason starts breaking in, but she gets the idea to put Jason's mom's sweater on. And she basically acts like Jason's mom. She starts saying, no, Jason, stop, Jason, come to mommy, stuff like that. And she basically tricks Jason into thinking, hey, this is mom. And she raises her machete, but when to chop Jason's head off, the girl did in the first movie when she chopped Jason's mom's head off. But when she raised her arm like that, it showed Jason's mom's head, and then that's when Jason realized, hey, this is not my mom, and he puts Jason sees his mom's head, and he raises his pickaxe to counter her machete, and then he freaking hits her in the leg with it. But then Paul finally got up from being knocked out, and then he opens the door and comes in to save her. Final page. And then Paul starts wrestling with Jason, but then so Paul and Jason start wrestling again, which I think is just so funny and stupid at the same time. But then Jason goes down to strike Paul with a pickaxe, but then Jenny raises her machete just in time and slaps it into Jason's shoulder. It goes all the way down to here, into his shoulder. they both and then they both walk back to the house because they thought, hey, Jason's done with. So then they're like, phew, and they start walking back to the house. But then they hear something at the door again. So Jenny takes the pitchfork, the part with the spikes on it. Paul takes the other end with the handle, the metal handle, and then Paul slowly opens the door, and it's a dog. And then it plays this like nice music, and then boom, Jason bursts through the window with the bag off of his head, with his deformed face. He bursts through the window, grabs Jenny, and then it cuts to her getting taken away on the stretcher, and then she asks, "Where's Paul? Where's Paul?" And no one answered her, and so basically I just assumed Jason killed Paul, so I counted that as kill, and I counted 8 kills, and the other people, because there was a bunch of more counselors that weren't even named in the movie, and they were at the bar, and him and Ted went to the bar as well. They never came back, so there was definitely survivors of this. So yeah, which kind of weird, but it's setting up part 3, which has Tommy Jarvis in it, which I can't wait to watch because Tommy is the best character in Friday the 13th, the video game. So I'm excited to watch that. Friday the 13th, the video game is pretty fun. They have like all the forms of Jason, stuff like that. So yeah, but I can't wait to watch part 3. Part 3 is pretty famous. I actually have part 3 in 3D, but I'm not going to watch it in 3D, so yeah. But yeah, I'm excited to watch that, and I'm excited to see Jason finally with his hockey mask on. Because in this movie, I don't even know if I mentioned that, Jason doesn't have his, he has a bag on his head instead of the hockey mask. He doesn't get that till part 3. So yeah, anyways, what would I rate it? Let's see, 1980s. In the 1980s, yeah, that's part 3 of the video after the review. Or not the review, but the summary. And the summaries are going to be longer now since I'm taking notes. I'll probably give it like a 7 in 1980 standards. Just because maybe I'd give it like a 6. No, I'd give it a 7 because of the kills. But just because it left so many unanswered questions, like where's Paul, and all those kids were still alive or whatever. So yeah, I didn't like that part about it. What would I give it in the day's standards if this was a new movie? But the new movie would be taken off of the old movie, so you'd have to get a little credit. I'd give it probably a 4, just because of the quality. It's a little better than the first movie, but at the same time, the first movie didn't leave unanswered questions. I mean, they did leave unanswered questions at the end, but this movie just left a bunch of people alive and stuff like that. I don't know, I just didn't like that. So, I would give this I'm going to give it a 6 because of the kills. Kills are cool. Barbed wire around the neck, pickaxe in the head, machete thrown into the guy's head, and then pummeled down the stairs. But I'm also going to give it a 6 just because of Jason wrestling Paul, Jason falling off of a chair. I mean, Jason, I'm pretty sure he gets smarter in the other movies. I'm not sure, though. But I know he gets cooler kill. Honestly, the kill where I've seen it where he like grabs someone in like a sleeping bag and just like throws them against a tree or something. I want to see that one. Anyway, so I'm going to write down in my notebook Friday the 13th. Part II. 6 out of 10. Alright. So yeah, mind the bad handwriting, but there you go. And yeah, so I'm gonna fill this whole entire notebook up with notes about the movies I'll be watching. So yeah, and I'll try to keep a kill count of all the movies as well. So yeah, no, there's videos about that out. But anyways, yeah, guys, I hope you liked this video of movie review, and this will be part 2 of movie review, and it will be Friday the 13th, part 2. So yeah. Anyways, like, I'm trying to get this better, and I'm trying to get the best quality of movie review, because I know I want to do movie reviews, but I'm trying to get the best like setup of how to do the movie reviews. So I'm pretty sure I got an alright setup right now. So tell me, guys, if you like this, if you like the notes, me taking the notes. Tell me if you like that in the comments, and give me suggestions for movie to watch, because I'd love to watch any movies you guys want me to watch and do a review of. So I'll see you guys in the next video vlog or stream. Follow my social media down in the description below, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace!